I've been listening to Kanye on Joe Rogan. He's talking about the ways that he's flowing. He says, I don't rant. These are symphonies of ideas. I was like, I get that. We need to embrace all the chaos, non-linear thinking in the way we create with these words. He's talking about speaking white. And I was like, that's a thing that I was trained to appreciate. Making sure that you say things in the way they're meant to be said. When my friends would use bad grammar, I would smack them in the head. Yes, I was being trained to be a certain way. And then I trained my friends. I was like this perfect indoctrinated teacher. I was carrying the message like a preacher. And now I realize that if you speak different, I'm gonna listen and appreciate it. We got many different languages. Something flowing right now, I'm turning pages. So these are my opening thoughts. I don't have anything clear, a nice fine box to hand you, Mr. Cameron, but I trust that something's coming up for you if you must open up and freestyle, let a voice be spoken. I'll be really blessed to sit here and listen. So I'm stepping back from the mic. And after you, I imagine that a dialogue would like to emerge between the two of us. So let's let it. This is emergence. Yeah, you know I'm sweating. I gotta stop myself with intention.
Right. You ended with some sweat. And now I have to go, even if I haven't thought of anything yet. Yeah, you handed me a box. I had something packaged. And then I listened to you, let it come in, and it all got rearranged. And then it flattened, you know, like a flat box made out of cardboard. And now I just want to step on it. And that train of thoughts got me bored. So I just let it roll on to the next one. Because this isn't a performance, it's just a way of communicating. Sometimes I got shortened of breath, like my heartbeat's abbreviating. Like I think I cannot, but I really can't. And then there's no follow-up, so I just let it drift on. And I feel like there's something that I want to hook on, and then the words come. Because I was also watching a little bit of Kanye, and then I couldn't take it. There's too much chaos. So I turned on another YouTube, and that algorithm is so pre-programmed. Like, I have my own algorithm, but it doesn't work the same way. But this video was about getting in the flow state. And it was like, you know, that really confident state where you just know that whatever the timing is, you can say it. And I can achieve it in some other situations. But then the beat goes, and I'm just all like, I can't recreate it. That's why I just practice and just flow through it. And whatever it is, I fucking know I'm doing it. And I'm more interested in the dialogue rather than dueling monologues. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I feel like I'm open to it. So let me pass it back to Tyson. We'll get to the next round.
Okay. So round two, there's a second beat. Something new is coming through, you and me. We are all rapping in synergy. I'm gonna make sure the beats are even. Yes, let me talk about the flow state. It's something that I could try and articulate in my solo performance. Everybody look at me, monologue in form in my own identity. This is narcissistic in the way that I take the stage and go ballistic. That was a reference of the past in my mind about how I would really like to try and be someone that could set the scene and have a whole crowd of people like watching me. That was a place that I oriented my mind, yeah. But then sometimes I couldn't get inspired. Sitting in my room all alone, trying to write these things that would help me pwn others and be proving myself to sisters, brothers, everybody looking at me. I'm like, yes, I am another one of these stars that you look up to. Let me be in that place. That would be, So I stopped writing, I stopped making music. I was fighting internally with these things that I felt like I needed to say, but I had nothing to say at all. And that was kind of contradictory. Why can't I write? Look at all these people that I look up to and they don't seem to need to fight. They just have words pouring out their brains all the time. And I got no words, I am silent. I'm just sitting here and I'm trying to listen. And all I hear is inner chatter coming up about desires and things that I don't have, people I admire. So I moved on, I gave it all up. And freestyling around the campfire was the only place I felt, and felt me and felt everything alive in my body to just be making meaning in the moment. Like looking at another person and they're rapping, they're saying new things. I'm surprised, my eyes open, and I'm feeling like there's no kings or queens sitting up on a throne, but everybody's back to the ground, wondering how on their own they can serve everybody in a circle. That is how I swerve my values and the things that I would strive for, learn how to use or be used by the music for something greater than me. That is when I found a flow that was deep, yes, and it just came in an instant moment, like spontaneity striking lightning. It was like bam, it would hit me in these moments with other people. We were family, turning friends into family and friends. Turning like that. So that experience where friends can become family and where family can become friends, because you see, family is family. There's a way of relating to them, but we might not be friends. And I want to be. And then when I have friends, how can that connection go deeper? And music is very important. Kanye was talking about how he wants to have 100,000 people in a stadium all singing and chanting together. And when he was doing that, I was like, my whole body was vibrating, and I was giving him hype through my screen. I was sending him my prayers. I was sending him energy. I was saying, yes, Kanye, make that vision come to fruition. And God bless him in his vision. So, thinking about the flow state, there is something for me where there need to be stakes. If I'm alone in my room and I'm writing and I'm like focused on my own personal desires and my identity and things I want to prove, nothing happens. Gave it up. But then when I was around a campfire with people and it was there in the moment, eyes on me, and I was having an experience of being seen, and I just took the first step, the first leap. Nothing was written. I had no plans. That was it. A flow could happen in an instant. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. Let me explore. How can I dive on in and feel a lot more? So freestyle and being with other people, making these experiences where we can all tend to one flow, which is each other's flow. How can I make it so that when I flow, others get a flow? How can we share in that space? Like if one wins, we all win. It's not a battle where we're here competing. It's something that we're learning how to be keeping and tending to. It is a flame. And when my torch lights another's, mine's not tamed. It doesn't bring mine down or dim it to be sparking everything that surrounds it. So thinking about the flow and its conditions. There's something for me in the way I'm living that it really depends on other people, humans, others surrounding me with something that is shared amongst us all, but it's bigger than any single one of us. Giving myself to something greater. That is what is like alive in me right now. With my practices, with music, with freestyle, with why I love Kanye West. What can I surrender all of my desires to? Maybe I'm not going to church and it's not Christianity and it's not like that. It's different language, different experience. But where do I go to give up, to surrender myself to my deepest or highest calling and aspiration? And as I say that, I notice some temptation to close off, not set the bar too high, because you're a small guy. But what is it that's big that I can just open up wide to and receive and be a part of, participating, integrated? I am just but a spark of inspiration. So I could keep going, flowing, because this is exciting to me, or energizing. I don't want to be excited. I don't want to be, unless I'm stoically excited, energized. So how do you relate to this idea of being a part of something bigger than yourself, or surrendering to something, God?
See, that's part of the challenge for me, because I'm about 6 weeks old in my spirituality. I'm still a hard atheist, because there's still something that channels my mind to be rigorous. And I feel like people go into one extreme or the other. And it's either like they're too rigid, or all of the spirituality, they get smothered. And I'm just like wanting to find that balance between thinking and feeling. And I realize it's hard to get into that flow state, because even though I want to go inside, I want to connect to the words that you state. And it's so hard because I have a similar habit where I just want to shut down and not open it. Because the thing that I was avoiding the first time around is that when you speak, it provokes some anxiety. So if I really want to get into that flow state, I have to delve deep into that place that's empty. And man, all I need is a scrap of emotional satiety, just that little bit of nutrition. And man, I don't need that superstition. I don't have to believe in God, because I think people project themselves into the universe. But man, it's in me, and I can take it up with just a few words. Is, make it plural. See, I don't mind if you correct my grammar, because I like to be precise, like a needle. But there's a different tool that I can use. And I can overcome all of the trauma I've used with a smile on my face. Because man, we can get to that community place. There was something else though that's not going to flow. I'm going to take a minute, because I don't want to let that thought go. But it was something about what you said, Tyson, about building a community and having a tendency to feel small. But I realized there was something that inspired me, because I feel like you have a needle too, but you dig into what the world needs. How this just evolved when you started at a campfire, and then you built your own fire. And to me, it blew my mind, because I don't have that side, or at least it's very undeveloped. And I feel like that's just a part of you that you have, and I can see it from outside. And you just dug in. I want to focus in on this place. And I realize there's a flow state if there's something that's already developed in me. I can just let the words come out because I'm so verbally, and I can speed it up, and I don't even want to do that yet because I don't know what I'm saying yet. And literally the last 2 sentences was a momentum I haven't experienced rapping yet. But that choppiness that I want to avoid is exactly the place that I want to explore. Because I feel like you have something that I don't, and we can offer each other. That's something I would never admit unless we were just here to spit and have a conversation. But that's part of that visualization. Because I don't think spirit is about some mystical God. I think it's about thinking about the future, realizing where we are now and what the potential is. With that seed that was just so difficult to grow that I'm going to keep digging in before I give you back the mic to let your mind spin. I want to leave it on this, but it's going to be a little bit difficult, so I just need some patience. Mostly for myself, because I see you already have it. It's in your face, it's lit. But there was this evolution from the flowing with unknowing this pandemic that I joined once, and I'm like, I can't rap on the screen, and I took a month off, and it just kept building in me. And then there was this philosophy, which is, I think, what I bring, because that's the part of my mind that is like overdeveloped to compensate for not being emotionally nourished. And it just evolved from this flowing with unknowingness to this philosophy unwrapping, which to me was just brilliant. And it seemed like you were just following something in it, and you can just see it, and that's the visualization. So the last step, I feel like, is like the next station, the destination that we are now, feeling this together. That when I was rapping in that last session, and I started off nervously, and it just felt like when you spoke in your introductory and you just attuned to me, but then I was like, wait, it's not only us on the screen, you're speaking to the whole community. You just like gently, with empathy, led people to where they need to be. And I think that's why you're so good at building community. So there's something else that I have to build. It was exciting to connect with this. Now I feel this like lifting of energy, and I'm ready to give it back to you. And let's continue with this.
Okay. So I'm noticing a number of things. One of the challenges with this amazing psychotech that we're engaged with, this is a dialogue, not quite a discussion where we're segments and fragments and then cussing. We're doing something different, letting that stream flow. But I want to touch on everything you said, yo. Yeah, there were many moments where I could have just caught the vine and swung and just let it swing me along, or dropped in on the wave, a vertical bomb, like you said, to choppy waters, gotta paddle through. Where it's most resistant, that's where I find truth. Gotta go into the belly of the beast, see what's inside of there for me to learn and come out with like a hero on a quest. I got the antidote, the elixir, it's the best. Gonna bring it back to the tribe like Prometheus, climbing mountains all night, snatching that fire from the gods and sending it down to those humans that he loved. Yeah, I made him feel proud, even if he had to be chained to the side of that same mountain that he climbed up and gave his life. Yeah, that is that thing that he did for the love of community, where they could all give their gifts, tell stories around a fire. Didn't mean to say any of this, wasn't my desire, but that's what I'm talking about. This challenge with the chaos and the order coming out. Talking about precision, using our grammar, choosing these words real carefully, gotta have it. I wanna have both, pulling from both sides. That chaos, random, non-linear rhyme. And then being here with you in a dialogue, something that is clear through. Yes, where I'm making my points, touching on everything right now like a joint. Yeah, see, that's a word I just said because it rhymed. Wasn't really that one to describe the very thought that was happening in my mind. But now we're practicing empathy together, right? Because you gotta pick up the signal in the noise that I'm making. There's another kind of signal that can be allowed to come through in this space. Even if I don't perfectly articulate all the things I wanted to say, we're making room for that energy that is true to come through. And then we get something maybe even more profound, more important in the way we get down, downloading essence or energy or just true, pure clarity from the spring. And maybe I am being ideological in the way I'm talking about this. It's just a mouthful. Maybe this isn't profound at all, and I'm just over here shooting my own. I don't even know the term, something about, there's a term, tooting my own horn. Yeah. So this is a space to cultivate empathy, to listen deeply, practice Rule Omega, and be keeping to myself all my judgments. Well, let them come up, I see them, I observe, but I am like a mountain, clouds floating by. I don't need to cling on to the way I judge myself or others, but listen, because all the time, the way that I associate with rap and rhyme is the opportunity to just shine on a stage and be seen in the way that I articulate. I want to drop bars and make it real tight, musical, so everyone is swaying with the vibe. But it's something deeper than that, and you know it's not about the way I perform, it's about how we explore it together, bringing it there to the center. So it's like I gotta break all the patterns of preparation, thinking what I will say, and just listen to you, and then trust when the moment comes to me, I'll let it just happen. You know, something else is rapping. I'm gonna forget like all of the points, and if it's the most important one that needs to be said, it'll be said. And otherwise, I gotta let go of all that attachment. So here we are in this interesting dialogue, something that is stringing me along, pulling me like a thread. I have no idea, it's got me in the head. Yes, and that's something to be aware of when it is a virus or when it is inspiration. Yes, but anyway, I feel like it should be easy to demonstrate, or this is interesting, an idea that is getting me hung up thinking about the fine details. Am I understood, or might I derail the conversation if I try and articulate that? Or maybe it's just an unconscious thought and I let it rap. So back to a primary question that I want to move through. It's like coming to the end of a flow where I could just let my heart go, and that's a big part of this. You know, there's the mental games, the fun, the refinement of our thinking, and like the precision, and then there's the heart surrender. Like, can I just give that up? Can I just not even try and just give myself up to just fly? Like I'm free in the wind and the breeze is upon my face, and I feel like a young little kid just laughing in this fun game, and see what would happen then. You know, would we keep trust? Would we keep flow? Would we stay sharing synchrony? And so coming back to where I started, I think it's like a deep appreciation for this moment and this experience and this practice, your encouragement as a, I was gonna say participant, but it's more like an ally and I don't know a word for it, but someone that I can train with or spar with, right? Like when two people meet in a ring or on the mat, that type of appreciation. And I'm wanting to see if anything else wants to like come in and crystallize this. You know, I love to tie a bow on things so that I can feel complete. And I think what it is that I'm seeking is like the certainty that I am being understood and that you know that I hear you. Like, is there anything that, you know, he said that I have to touch on so that he knows like, oh yes, I felt that. And in the moment, I don't know what is coming to rap and what's gonna show up here, but I think that I've felt into the grooves, like, I was gonna say as deep as I can, but that might not be possible. I don't know how well I can sense into that subtle perception of how it is we should fence as we're sparring here together, but that's it. The feeling in me is generative and it wants more, so I'm just gonna see what's coming up for you now.
All right. Yeah, what you said, I feel the same way. That there's so much material, so many different things I could say, and I'm of two minds. Because I'm thinking that visualization in the future, we have so many different practices. We can practice the performance piece, and then we can kind of interject and go one at a time, or we can do it this way, where we just listen to everything and see what comes to mind. And man, even though there were so many things, and I don't want to prioritize one over the other, there was this one thing that got me going when you had this moment of curiosity, and I just wanted to shed my own luminosity. And then you had this other metaphor of sparring, and I tried this whole martial arts thing, and I fucked up both my knees, and I was like, man, but I got that fighting spirit. Even before that Monday night, I was like getting back into my fighting stance before my brain could even hear it. I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought I couldn't fight, but man, my fight is verbal. I gotta bring this world back to the knees, asking the right questions like I'm Socrates. Because as much as I would like to fight with hand-to-hand combat, that's just not the spirit that I was born with. But it's too individualist. So we come back to that connection and some other connections I was making when I heard you go for it. There's something about the connection happens in between when we both let out what we're really thinking and feeling. I feel like that flow started off high and then filtered out. My desires to pass it back.
Yeah, this is good. There's like maybe some extra velocity that is asking to be seen in the way that we move. So, well, let me let the beat do what it's gonna do. This is good. I feel like where I am now is I feel light. I feel very curious about the parts of me that get, well, let's see. I have an agenda, and that agenda is for you to feel like, I don't know if that's right. So I'm noticing the ways in which that I want to, see, this is where freestyle can do a thing, where I can let the performance of what I'm gonna say, and so when it's a performance, it's an attachment to sounding good. And especially if I get into a flow, like if I'm like, find myself in a flow rapping, then to just, I don't know, to just talk casually in the moment, there's like a shifting of gears that needs to happen.
I just have one thing I need to say.
Please.
But I think this practice that we're doing is going to get us to that place where there's no conflict between the performance and what's inside. Yeah. That's why I like, when I practice in my head, I can get the spin, but it's like what you said, you get caught in the same mind work. So we're trying to build something deeper. We can both be truth seekers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a real tension. Because when I'm in a collective presencing session or something, I can really take my time. And people love that. It's like what it's all about. It's like take big breaths between every word that you say. And sometimes I found myself there being like feeling impatience. Like, let's get on with it. Let's rap. Like, let's go. And I appreciate both. Other times it's exactly what I love. I love to be slow with the way that I choose my words and be thoughtful, observe, take these big breaths and speak in a very quiet way. And people are drawn toward that as like a practice, you know, collective presencing, sourcing, and I see why. And then other times I just want to rap. I just want to like, I think it's why I appreciate Kanye, the way he lets these symphony of ideas, as he calls them, these rants, these riffs, and I just want to go. I just want to like grab onto something. Like I'm imagining some like really, like when you're in the water and you can just like grab onto those little like motorized things and just like ring, and just pull you around. I just want that. I just want to grab it and it's like a magic carpet ride. And so, yeah, but you're absolutely right. That tension between the performative element of it and like wanting to make sense and also be artful. I want, it's like the same way that I want my body to look good so that like it's like easy on people's eyes. I might want my the way that I flow to like really like, I don't want it to be hard for you. Like you were listening to Kanye and you had to stop because there's too much chaos, right? Like, so we can refine the way that we express so that it is artful and people can digest like all of it easily, and we're not asking too much of them to be here listening. Like that's one of my biggest insecurities about rapping, is that by someone listening to me, like I'm asking way too much of them. So there's a performative element, and then there is like, well, what if we weren't rapping at all and we weren't recording and we were just here talking, there was no beats? There would be a casual effortlessness. And so the tension between them and the benefits of both, and to weave them, I'm really interested in that. And I think you're right. That's a big part of what the practice is for.
Yeah, I realized that hearing you, it like dissipated all of the pressure to perform. I'm just like really liking these ideas. And there are a couple things that I was touching on, and then I forget them immediately after, because that's my practice. Get too much into flow. But there is I'm going back to my last one where it's like, I really like that metaphor of the dojo and the sparring, and then immediately my mind went back to my own thing and I almost like closed off. I think that's an important piece because I have to know where I came from, but there's where I want to go. And as soon as I remembered the one piece, it automatically led to the flow of the next one my mind brought into my consciousness. And the other thing was that metaphor where you're grabbing on to the device, and I'm like, I want that too, but I feel really grounded. I'm nowhere near that yet. And I'm just like, I feel it getting there. And I feel it's like the delayed gratification, because I know how warm we're going to be when we can go up and reach a new level of gratification. It's like a whole new category, whether it's individually or together, or likely a little bit of both. And there's just, we've done the practice, we've earned it, we have that like confidence that goes into the flow state. And a funny thing that you mentioned about Kanye is that I might still keep watching the whole thing because I knew this was coming up. I was very protective of my energy. I was like, okay, I'll watch this chaos even if it drowns me and I end up going under and I can't feel the speed because my mind doesn't operate on the same wavelength. But that's the thing, I want to like be able to control that chaos more than Kanye does, at least in the first like 35 minutes. I want to have that like real groundedness, so when I flow, I can take that part of my mind and just build it in.
Yep.
And then keep going with that.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that speaks to, like, for me, right, at what the edge of this practice is for me and why I'm interested in this way is, how can I cultivate this ability to trust and surrender and flow and let go, while simultaneously cultivating a capacity to command my words and mean what I say and say what I mean and choose every sound with intentionality. Like, those seem like contradictory, or it seems like a hard thing to do, but I also think about spiritual practices and like the way that some people can just zoom off into the clouds and, you know, lose any sense of the ground and where it's at. And then there's been times in my life where that came more easy. I could just freestyle and let my mind just stream in chaos. There's our timer. And the thing that I craved was to, how can I rein this in? Wow. Any closing thoughts here with this?
Yeah, when you talk about reining it in, I'm left with an inspiration that we can combine this like grounding and giving up the desire to perform with just maybe taking part of the session at some point to just break the norm and work on just rhyming and work on the timing, and whatever comes up and there's no time to think about it, it just vomits up like a vomit rocket and taking the train, and I can't complain because at least I have a way of getting around and it doesn't have to be profound. Something like that, because I resist that because I don't know what I'm saying. But I think that those are the two parts, and then if we practice both of them, they can come together so it becomes seamless. That's the vision I have.
Yep. Yep. I'm with you. That's awesome.